Moving on to our third discussion of the day in this particular episode is the HS2 project. Not to go into detail about the HS2 project per se, but to identify now that there is an easy way for people who are against HS2 to bombard their MPs and put pressure on their MPs to stand up in the Commons and to vote against this project continuing. Because not only is it turning out to be a whole lot more expensive than we were previously told, which is no surprise because these projects always are, but it's the amount of destruction that it's doing and the fact that it's not going really that far north. A lot of people in the north were kind of hoping it was going to get up close to the Scottish borders, maybe go to Newcastle. And in fact, now it looks like it's getting as far as Manchester and stopping. So there's going to be so much to the northwest, to the northeast, to the east, that is not going to be fed by any new particular opportunities as a result of HS2. And in fact, it's going to stop where we already have a lot of rail lines going anyway, from King's Cross and Euston. So this particular section is just really to say, if you don't want the HS2, if you start, if you're now believing that it's a lame duck, it's a waste of money, and that the money is better off spent elsewhere in our economy, looking after the vulnerable people we've just talked about, or creating, a green economy, or creating cooperatives where people can unite together democratically and work together to create outcomes, as opposed to generating what appears to be lots of money, again, for very wealthy people. We've already seen in the last couple of weeks that Boris Johnson's father got paid an astronomical amount when it bought up his land for HS2 to go through. Now, how much?
4.4 million. 4.4 million, Jace.
Exactly.
4.4 million. Tough decision for Boris Johnson. Ummed and ahed about whether to go ahead with HS2, then plumped to go ahead. And then we discovered that his own dad, Stanley Johnson, was going to get 4.4 million for his home. Tough decision for Boris, huh?
Yeah, and it's anti-democratic. It's showing no consideration at all for any or hardly any of the outcomes that they originally identified that this project would bring to the north of the country. And yet along the way, already wealthy people are getting even more wealthy, while the rest of us are finding that the environment, our land, etc., is being taken over by these powerful figures because they are dictating to us. Now, this is about us dictating to them. So it's simple. Go on the site, just type in a quick and simple way to ask your MP to rethink HS2, or just type in HS2, and it will be pretty much near the top of your search. And then you can contact your MP. It's all really simple. You click on it. The narrative is already there. You just have to add your details. It identifies all the key reasons already why this is a major problem, and bombard. Don't just do it once. If you don't hear anything back from your MP, over and over and over and over again. So flood them, whoever your MP is around the country. It doesn't matter if HS2 is anywhere near it. Flood them with it, because they have to realize that they can't call it a democracy and then spend 4 years ignoring us. And this is just one example.
Just one example. I honestly believe, I think HS2 is yet another example. We've seen so many during the pandemic, but other things too. I honestly think the priority for this government, the only real priority, is to implement policies that will financially benefit them, their families, and their rich donors. And they make all their decisions based upon that. I think the decision to go ahead with HS2 had nothing to do with anything other than, you know, can we, our families and our friends, our rich friends and donors, the people that donate vast sums of money to the Conservative Party and support us, can we make lots of money from it? Yes, go ahead. No, nah, we won't then. I mean, we've seen it throughout, as I say, throughout the pandemic, that they're using the pandemic as an excuse to give vast sums of money to their friends and donors, often in a secretive, hidden way. Only the Good Law Project that is managing to find the truth and take them to court for lying, for giving contracts illegally and lying about it. And the courts are finding the government to have acted unlawfully and to have lied again and again and again, thanks to the Good Law Project. You know, same with HS2, same with so many other things, you know, privatizations in areas of, you know, health and defense contracts and energy contracts and so on and so forth. We have, unless, you know, it's an often quoted thing, but unless we're able to take the money out of politics, we are having I would argue, a society that's dying. We're having, you know, the ravages of late stage capitalism. We're unprotected by any form of democracy, and people in charge that care about human life and the quality of human life. We're unprotected from the very worst things that happen in society when we have a bunch of people in charge that are only interested in vast profits for themselves and their friends. And of course, a lot of these people, like Johnson, he said it himself, apparently, that, you know, they're only in politics. They have no sense of duty or service. They're in it to make money in the long term, you know. And Boris apparently has, according to Dominic Cummings, has recently said, you know, he's just there for a little while and then he's off on the after dinner speech circuit, mostly in America, to make his 50 million. You know, Tony Blair's done it, Theresa May's done it. You know, they all go on. David Cameron's done it. They stand to be, you know, arguably, I would say, particularly Conservative MPs. Their career plan is to be a Conservative MP and go on and make their fortunes in the private sector or through after dinner speaking. And they will, you know, they'll make vast fortunes. And of course, the policies that Johnson's implementing today, very destructive to our society. He doesn't care what the results will be in 5 years or 10 years, because he won't be an MP anymore. You know, he'll be off doing the after dinner circuit and wondering how to spend his 50 million.
I think there's two major points here. When they are MPs, when they are in government, they use taxpayers' money for their own personal investment scheme. And I also think that, you know, the very last point, when Margaret Thatcher said there's no such thing as society, she wasn't making an empirical observation. She was making an observation based on her wish list.
Yeah.
And all those people that have come after her that are what we call Thatcher's children have tried their doing their damnness to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely, Jace. Yeah.